Yeah, they were kind of. I was talking for no reason.
There we go.
Straight looks normal.
Yeah.
And you're gonna need to turn your body.
Yeah, I will.
Try that again. I'm not logging on just to see if
One. That's better than nothing.
Okay. The good thing is they record it and they get posted. All right. Hello again. You're just looking at me and you couldn't hear me. I'm Councilmember Will Jawando with Director Anita Vassallo of the libraries. And we're outside of the beautiful Poolesville Library, Maggie Nightingale Library here in Poolesville, Maryland. And welcome to our, one of the things we said when you couldn't hear me is welcome to the 19th of our 22, sorry, of library tours. Just I spent much of the day up here in Poolesville meeting with residents, some of the town commissioners. So it's a beautiful day up here. And this is our first kind of hybrid virtual and in-person tour. So we've got a few people out there, a few people online. And obviously some of you probably watch this later, but we'd like to make, it's really important to me as an at-large council member to make it around to every part of the county and hear from residents, meet with the library staff, view the physical library, which I just did right behind me here with Anita. And we've got some fly buzzing around here. But good to be with you. So what I normally do is I just give a couple minutes of general updates of what's going on in the county. And then I let Director Vassallo say anything she wants to say about, I feel like Mike Pence right now. You're getting a show too, guys. You're getting a show. Is he still there? No. Okay.
That's fine. This is part of live.
Part of live TV.
Television.
Yeah, it's okay. It'll be fun. It'll be fun later. So I'll give you a quick update and then I'll turn to Director Vassallo. And then if you all have any questions, since I can't see you, just please type them into the chat. And then we'll go from there. Couple things, COVID vaccinations continue to go well. I like you.
You keep going. I'm not worried.
COVID vaccinations continue to go well. I think I mentioned to you on our last library tour that we continue to lead the nation and counties over 3,000 people, 300,000 people in vaccination rates. We're well over 75%, which is really good. Thanks to all. If you're curious about the real-time numbers, you can check the Montgomery County website, but we're heading in the right direction. But if you haven't gotten a vaccination yet and you're over 12 years old in the county, you can do so. You don't even need an appointment anymore. Most of our sites and most of the community sites and private folks, providers as well, pharmacies and the like. So please go out and do that so we can keep our progress heading in the right direction. We are also several weeks after just passing our budget here in the county. And we've made a lot of investments, including in this library right behind us here. And I'll let Director Vassallo talk about what's going on with that. But we're really excited that libraries are reopening for in-person services. Obviously, they've been open for throughout the pandemic, but next week, all of the libraries will be open for in-person services, which is really exciting. A couple weeks, 2 weeks. July 6th, 2 weeks. Yeah. And so we're really excited about that. We continue to, on the council, work on various policy issues. I'm really focused on housing affordability. I have several proposals around that. More housing for more people is the name of that, to produce more affordable housing at all price points for folks, but also make sure we keep people in their homes. I did a renters town hall last night where we're concerned about the eviction crisis and making sure rents are stabilized. So I'll be introducing legislation in the coming weeks to extend the temporary rent stabilization bill that I passed with my colleagues earlier in the year, so that rents can't go up over a certain amount, at least for the next year. We know that's really important right now, as people are struggling and getting back on their feet. We also are working on a robust set of investments in our schools for student wellness and mental health supports. Councilmember Rice and I, as members of the Education Committee, commissioned a Student Wellness Advisory Group, which is meeting and reporting back to us by the end of July. And we're going to make some investments as a council in student wellness and mental health supports for our students as they re-enter school full time, no restrictions in September. So a whole bunch of other things going on, but the short story is we're working really hard to keep folks safe, to get back to some sense of normalcy, and to provide the services that people need coming out of this pandemic. We will do another round. Last thing I'll say is we'll do another round of economic development grants to our businesses using the federal money. We've given out over 60 million already, and more to come to keep our businesses afloat. And so stay tuned for that. We're going to be discussing that much of July, going into September as well. So that's a little snapshot of the council. I want to turn to Director Vassallo and see if there's anything he wants to share about the libraries.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Jawanda. We're always pleased to be able to host Councilmember Jawanda, as he said, the lead for libraries, at one of these events at one of our beautiful locations that are all around the county. And here we are now out in the western part of the county, the Agricultural Reserve in beautiful Poolesville. And behind us, of course, is the Poolesville Library, which is going to be reopening for in-branch operations on Tuesday, July 6th, day after the 4th of July holiday. And then also coming up, very exciting for the Maggie Nightingale Library, is its refresh. And so this has been perhaps a little bit delayed. I know it seems like we've been talking about refreshing Maggie Nightingale for quite a while, but now it's the turn of this library and this community to have the library upgraded, to get some rearrangement of the interior space, some freshening up of the way that it looks, and some technological improvements inside. So this is a process that we've gone through for, I think this might be the 12th of the libraries, probably more. And it has always resulted in the return of a beautiful building, updated and upgraded to the community. So we're very pleased with that.
What's the timeline for that?
I think probably by the end of the year. I know that the construction kickoff is not too far in the future. I don't think we've announced the date yet, though, but it's not going to take too long for things to happen, and then for it to be returned back to the community and become, continue as the center of community life here in Poolesville, that the library certainly is. One of the bastions of county services here in the western part of the county.
Absolutely. Is that it?
Well, as we move into the rest of the year, the post-pandemic year, what we're looking at for libraries is the gradual resumption of some of our in-person programming. We're working on what that will look like. We're going to be looking at resuming our pre-pandemic hours over the course of the rest of this year. The new fiscal year begins July 1st, and thanks to Councilmember Jawanda and other members of the council, the library budget, while not increased, is looking very good going into fiscal year 22. So our collection money is safe and secure. We will be working on hiring some staff, and I think it's looking like a very good year for public libraries in Montgomery County coming up.
Absolutely. We are excited about that. So with that, we will take a question from the audience. Oh, okay. So a Poolesville resident has asked what's going on with the Poolesville High School. which I'm also happy to report. There's a lot going on in Poolesville this year coming up. In addition to the library refresh, which Director Salo just talked about, which will be the upgrading and kind of refurbishing of the library, there's a new high school being built in Poolesville. We approved on the council in the capital budget the funds to build a new building here just down the road on Fisher here at the high school. And so it's on track and there's already activity happening. And I just met with some of the town commissioners and other folks here who are very excited about that. And so I think that will be delivered at some point next year. And we look forward to that ribbon cutting. Poolesville continues to be one of the best high schools in the state as far as academics in this community. And now the building will reflect the great work that's been going on the inside. So we're excited about that. And a lot of reasons to come to Poolesville here over the next year because of the great things that are happening in the community. So we're excited.
My niece will be starting as a freshman at Poolesville High School.
Oh, okay.
In September.
In person. That'll be good. So she'll be there for the transition to the new building.
She will.
That's great.
Exciting.
That's exciting. Yes, another audience question. Great question. So the question was about, we have a Germantown resident here, which is, 15 miles or so down the road. And the question was transportation from here to there. We know a lot of Poolesville residents. This has come up multiple times, particularly our seniors. They need specialty care. They're traveling, but even a number of reasons. If you want to go to do something and have recreation or a restaurant or something in Germantown, it can take, if you want to use public transit or if you don't have access to a car or if you don't like driving at night, go down the list of reasons. There is limited bus service. It could take you all day to do it. And one of the things that we're looking into is our Department of Transportation right now is reviewing all of the bus stops and routes in the county. This is something I had requested of them last year and that they've made a little more robust. And we expect to have that review in this next fiscal year so that we can make some decisions about where does service need to be upgraded. And also co-location of stops. One of the things I've been really asking them to do is look at places like the library, or if a lot of Poolesville residents are going to services in Germantown, for example, how do we make sure that there is enough routes that get there quick enough and there's enough support on public transportation to do that. So I expect to hear back from that in the next year, and we'll be looking to make some adjustments based on the needs of the community. We had an environment question. There is just this week, actually, the county executive announced a number of proposals that he's looking to do based on his environmental review. We're going to be considering those in the council. I think one of the first ones coming up is dealing with building codes. How do we make our buildings more efficient and producing less CO2 and using less energy? That's something the council will be taking up this fall. Transportation, obviously, use of public transit relates to that as well. And I think the more services you can have here, where people don't have to travel as far, you take people off the roads. That's another thing. I think long term, there's going to be some more housing. I just found out from the town commissioners it's going to be built here, another 45 or so units, and so that will allow more people to live here. Hopefully, not need to travel as far. And then we're going to go through those review of all those recommendations. I think there's 86 recommendations in this county executive's report and proposal. We're going to have to work with him and work with the administration on those. Another thing that I've particularly been interested in is how do we move to solar? This is a really exciting time. Actually, today, there was an announcement from Washington that there's a deal on an infrastructure bill that as part of it, will include investments in clean energy and the retrofitting of buildings and the like. So we're going to see how we can take advantage of that. We know in the ag reserve here, there's a lot of sun, and that could be something that could be a part of what happens here. We did pass a version of solar that was a good compromise, I think, to start to see. And we'll also be doing a study of solar being allowed up here in the ag reserve in a limited fashion. And then we're going to see if we can expand that over time. So that's some of the things we're working on.
So I think what you're going to see in terms of changes to the services are we're going to be taking advantage of technological innovations that we have put into place. We know that people like to interact with our staff, certainly, but also people like the ability to, for example, do the self checkout or self return. So we've included those types of installations in all of our libraries. We've beefed that up. We've also seen the benefit of the reach out into the community of our virtual programming. So we're actually seeding a work group right now that will be investigating what programming will look like for the libraries going forward as people's comfort level with being out in public in groups continues to rise. We certainly don't want to throw out everything that we learned over the past year and a half in terms of how we can get our messaging out into the community, how we can combat social isolation for our seniors by allowing them to interact with library programs remotely. So a lot of things coming up. You know, some of it will still be trial and error. We don't want to make go down one road so far that we can't come back if we figure out it's not serving the community in the way that it needs to be, because the thing to remember is that the focus of Montgomery County Libraries is providing resources and services to our community members. So that's what we focus on, and we want to be sure that we're doing that in a way that is of highest benefit to folks. So that's kind of what I have to say about that.
I just add, we're really excited. I'm glad to hear about the task force, because one of the things we had started to do before the pandemic was talk about the future of libraries. Mm-hmm. And I think one thing we've learned is that the future has changed and is changing all the time. And we've had to adapt, and with the 300,000 plus holds to go, and like you said, thousands of virtual programming, and now the need for services to be co-located and delivered in a different way, and what are those roles going to be. I'm excited about the ability to kind of look at that and see how that can impact policy and budget. So definitely, it'll be fun. Hello, how are you? Nice to see you. Yes, of course.
I am. I'm Anita.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's nice to hear.
I appreciate that. It's a great place. Well, thank you for saying that. It's nice to hear that sometimes, because you hear the opposite sometimes too. So, so it's nice. You have a question or a comment or anything? You can talk about anything.
No, we'll talk about anything.
Yeah, anything.
I'm very interested in my kids out and out products of the wonderful system. I'm very intrigued to hear about, and I would love to see all sides of the getting out of school.
Sure.
You know, I remember when this first brought in, and everybody thought it was a great idea, and I was very involved in
Yeah.
And, you know, the idea is that these people come in and build relationships.
Right.
It was supposed to be part of community policing. But
Right.
it didn't work out right, so they used to work that way along.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just, yeah.
With the dog. Yeah.
So could you just talk about what's going on?
Sure.
And is the, are the results reported out in school?
Yes. So great question. I'm just going to repeat it a little bit for the viewing audience, but the question was about SROs and what is happening with that, and just kind of the debate and what my role and involvement in the council's role. So a couple things. You're right. It was started as a kind of a two-pronged response to try to address mass shootings in schools, but also to try to improve community police relations, and both which are really well intentioned and good goals, right? I have kids in the school system. You know this. We all want our kids to be safe and to learn, and we want them to interact with our justice system in a positive way. But unfortunately, on both accounts, there's the data actually tells a different story over time, and that you see disproportionality in who the interactions with the law enforcement in schools, and you have our children of color in particular, our students with disabilities who are getting arrested in very high proportions relative to their population in the school. And then also there's been some studies done. The Secret Service did one about physical school safety as well. And actually the report came out, one of many, that said that things like creating vestibules so that people can't enter the building, things that we've done in Montgomery County, making sure that doors lock and teachers and staff are trained, have a much better impact on school safety and preventing a mass casualty event. And so when you combine that with the fact of what's happening in Montgomery County, half the students arrested are kids of color, are Black students, and they're 20% of the population. And what we went through last year, right, as what we're going through here locally and nationally around how do we reimagine public safety? Because the disproportionality is happening inside the school building and outside. So juveniles in Montgomery County, 50% of the juveniles arrested are Black juveniles, and even though they represent 19% of the population. So the system isn't working. And when you look at the offenses in the school or out of school, you dig down, many of them are low-level offenses. For example, drug use or marijuana use, we know consistently happens the same around every population, but who's getting arrested for it is different. And so what I've tried to do, and I'm glad we've come to a pretty good resolution at this point with Councilmember Rice, who was on the opposite side of this issue, is we both have agreed, having competing bills. I had one to take the police out of schools, he had one to keep them, to say that no, we don't need law enforcement in schools in an enforcement capacity. We need to invest in mental health, social emotional support, wraparound services, after school program, crisis intervention counseling. Things that if you invest in those things, you're going to have less need for police interaction. Now, does that mean police will never come to schools? Absolutely, it does not. If there's an emergency under state law, and they should be able to respond in an emergency to get there. The other thing I'll say is there are more highly trained, better adults to be helping our students de-escalate situations. And proximity matters. If Principal X knows that police officer Y is right at the corner of the hallway and something happens, you've got a kid, 1,500 kids, you just want it to be dealt with, you're going to call them down. And that may or may not be a positive interaction. I am very in support of programmatic interactions with law enforcement. How do we get started again with the police athletic league, have some co-teaching happening, things like assemblies where police come and talk about, and they can ask real questions, but where you remove the enforcement angle from a possibility, you take that off the table. Yeah, so that's kind of where we are. He did, yeah, he did. So we yes, and we formed this group called the Student Wellness Action Group, which is half student centered. They are meeting right now, and they're going to give recommendations to the council and the executive about the social, emotional, mental health supports and discipline procedures that they think we need to make investments in. You know, one of the things that I've always troubled me is when I went to a high school, I went to New Seneca Valley, beautiful school, the biggest school in the state of Maryland, square footage wise. Had this new one, yeah, the new one, had an SRO, didn't have a school psychologist. That's a budgetary decision, and so we're going to correct that. And the county executive has come along as far as not having SROs in the high schools next year. They will not be there. Where we are now is trying to figure out, well, what will be the interaction. He's proposed a model. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of where we are. Yeah. It did, and it does.
Yeah. And I was just really impressed to hear Craig kind of circle on it, because he was really involved in the creation of this.
He was.
And you know, I'm on board with you. You know, I think that, you know, it all comes down to the I really I mean, never happened to my kids.
Right.
You know? And
yeah. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm glad to hear that. You know, it was hard work.
Thank you for being open. I wish I could package you and take you around the county, but you know, it's a tough, and it's really a personal thing because people like I have an relationship with ex-officer. I know many of the officers, they're good people, they're well-intentioned, but they're not social workers. We, like with police, it's a microcosm. We've asked police to do the wrong job, to do too much. They shouldn't be dealing with people with experiencing homelessness or who are dealing with mental health crises, but we've asked them to do that, and they're not trained. And you see disproportionality in a systemic way, regardless of the individual. You know, is there individual racism? Absolutely, but it's more of a systemic problem, and the schools are really examples of that. So we have a lot of work to do on the issue holistically. Yeah. Right. We're on our way, at least. Yeah. How long you been in Poolsville? How long have you lived in Poolsville?
I actually don't live here. I live out
the real ag reserve.
Yeah. I live over
Clarksburg. Okay. Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you.
You know, this is not the dog that he's still doing COVID regular things where he has my dog is inside there.
Wonderful. Well, we're glad to be a distraction. Seamus, are there any other questions online? Okay. All right. Well, we might finish early.
It's a good discussion there.
Yeah, this was good.
Yeah.
And we post these online. So as always, if you have any questions, and I'll give you my card physically, but you can always email me at councilmember.jawando, which is JAWANDO @montgomerycountymd.gov, or call my office 240-777-7811. We're really glad to be here at Maggie Nightingale.
Indeed. Beautiful, beautiful Poolsville.
Yeah. So we'll see you all next time. Our next tour is where, Seamus? Do we have a date set?
We do.
Okay. Which one is it? I think Kensington is next, but we're going to post on the website where it is, what day it is. Yeah.
Libraries will be open by then?
Yes.
Yeah. Welcome.
July 8th. Okay.
Great.
So we'll see you July 8th in Kensington, hopefully in person. We're going to do that one all the way in person, but we're still going to stream. And then all the libraries will be open July 6th.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank goodness.
All right.
It's been a long road, but we're almost there, and we're very happy about it. I know the staff here is really excited to get open and to see the community back in the library. We develop good relationships with our local communities at our branches, and we know that libraries provide a support network for many of the people who come in to visit. So we're very, very pleased to finally, see the light at the end of the tunnel, or we're almost out of the tunnel, right?
Absolutely. Fingers crossed.
Okay, and I just want to say that you, council, and of course the county administration have done a great job with COVID vaccinations. I know that that we're one of the highest counties in the entire country and certainly on the East Coast in terms of our vaccination rate. And that's what's giving us all the ability to be sitting out here and feeling very comfortable about it.
As
So,
close as we are,
yep,
both vaccinated.
yes.
Um,
Fully.
And then we're going to be doing our 100th story time in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned for info on that. I won't say exactly what yet because I want to confirm it, but it will be our 100th. So take care, everybody. Have a great, great, great evening. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you.